The Mill and other film projects that have similar themes really have me looking at every word on my employment document or cell phone agreement to make sure I catch all the fine print because the shenanigans are out of control. These projects are meant to be fictional, but they do highlight the fact that many of us may not be paying full attention as to what we might be signing up for. I mean, it's hilarious to watch, but as we've seen, art and life can sometimes intersect. These projects are meant to entertain, but they can also be a warning about the power we do give corporations within our lives. One of the biggest takeaways from this movie for me is the myth of work-life balance. It's always being heavily promoted within corporate America. Let's talk about all the life that happens outside of the hours of 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, that somehow is balanced out by the 48 hours that we do have on the weekend. The mass hysteria of corporate America. Let's get into it.
Follow me, yeah,
me.
let's go.
Let's go.
To the
Yeah.
Welcome back, digital family. For my day ones, I appreciate you continuing to ride with me. For my new family members, fist bumps and deep hugs. For all of you people, get comfortable on the media couch because we're going to talk about one of Hulu's newest original movies called The Mill. It was directed by Sean King O'Grady and stars Lil Rel Howery, who we know was a TSA agent in Get Out. And more recently, we've seen him in some other hit films like Vacation Friends and Paw Patrol, or maybe I've seen him, maybe not you. But anyway, very funny comedian that has shown an impressive range in other genres outside of comedy. This particular movie also stars Pat Healy and Karen Oberlin, who plays the wife of Joe, of course, played by Rel, but you really don't see much of her or even the other characters because most of the movie is focused on Rel's character, Joe. All right, let's get into it. The Mill is about a dedicated corporate soldier who really gave a majority of his life and time to a corporation over a very long time period. He had overachieved and was looking for ways to take his career to the next level. When Joe was single and it was just him and his wife, he could fully focus on his work. That makes sense, right? His wife even made a comment within the movie that says she was surprised that he had given her a call in terms of during the day, which means that he was so locked in on what he needed to do that he didn't even check in with his significant other throughout the course of the day. I don't know. That seems a little unusual. But Joe was, constantly being rewarded for this type of behavior. So, of course, he continued moving in the same way in order to advance and move forward. Well, as things happen, life be lifing, Joe's circumstances began to change when he became aware that he would soon become a father to a son. Good times, right? He found himself having to be out of the office more than usual because his wife was having a very difficult pregnancy. So this pivot towards spending more time with his family began to kind of bring his performance numbers down and also started to impact the overall divisional outlook. So one day, Joe just woke up, to start his day like normal, but then he found himself fully dressed outside in the middle of an open air prison. Imagine that, right? That's crazy. Like there was a mill in the center of this open air prison and a locked door behind him. So for context, a mill is like a stone tool or a big tool or whatever that's used to grind grain into flour or something else. It's like this big circular stone that basically you have to push around in order to kind of do the grinding. But anyway, just like anyone else who might have woke up in that particular position, he lashed out trying to figure out what the hell was going on. He was eventually greeted by an electronic voice and some graphics on the wall that gave him an explanation as to why he was there and what would be expected of him. He was also told that his performance numbers had dropped and that he had been spending way more vacation time than he had spent in the past. But then again, they had mentioned that they gave him unlimited vacation. So he's having a kid. That's the time period where he's supposed to be able to use it. Anyway, that's another discussion. The electronic voice also told him that he'd be responsible for a series of tasks involving the mill that I just talked about, and he had to do them within a certain time frame and quantity in order to show that he was developing as an employee of the company and getting better. What the hell ever. One of the funniest things about this situation is that he signed up for this. And that's what I was talking about reading the fine print earlier. He basically had signed up for this program within the company to basically help him enhance his work life and his abilities to do his job as an employee, not realizing that the company would take it to this extreme. It's crazy. Now, while he's there, he discovers that there are even more employees trapped in their own prisons, forced to do the same work. Sounds like cubicles to me. Anyway, everything is quota driven and everything is labor heavy. But as he begins to kind of communicate with one of his neighbors, they give him a bit of a rundown on kind of how the days are going to flow and the best ways in which he can survive. Now, this leads to a series of events and creates way more questions than answers. Now, again, this is not a spoiler review, but I really did like the concept and the acting in this project. You could really feel Joe's frustration growing with each stage he had to go through. The tension really doesn't let up, and you really don't know how Joe is going to survive this whole endeavor. Now, I do feel as though this movie was a bit long and kind of followed a lot of the similar tropes that you see in Black Mirror, Twilight Zone. Matter of fact, this could have easily been a 30-minute episode and not a full movie. I mean, it has a cool twist that's, not anything super new or ingenious, but it doesn't really tie up all the loose ends that are out there. The ending or the closeout is a bit muddy, and I still had questions like, who the hell is Alex? And, what happened to the other people that didn't meet expectations and things like that as well. So what I do love about this project is the focus on all of the tactics that Fortune 500 companies use in order to get more productivity out of their employees, how they treat people like machines and don't take into consideration that workers are way more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're people. They're people that have lives and dreams that exist outside of the words that they agree to on those bloated ass mission statements that you had everybody sign. True work-life balance really means figuring out a plan that would meet the needs of the worker and the company long term. So if you're open to watching something, that's really familiar in terms of concept, but has some solid acting and tension, The Mill is a solid choice. But I can really see how people could get a bit frustrated at this film because it is a little long and has some unanswered questions, but I had some fun. And, again, the ending wasn't quite what I wanted it to be, or quite didn't really, open up a lot of doors or tell me a lot more about the film or give me some more nuance about what they were doing. But it was fun. And I did like Rel's performance. I thought he did a fantastic job in terms of what he brought to the table. And I'm always a big fan of comedians that can kind of go from, making people laugh to be able to really showing some range and some depth and the emotions that they could bring to the screen. And I thought that Rel did a great job with that, despite the movie, being, a little long and having some other flaws. But anyway, hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you did like it. If you saw it, did you have a similar opinion to myself? If you hadn't seen it, did you plan on seeing it? Either way, hit me up in the comments. Tell a friend to tell a friend.